Retro Kev here. Now, Retro Import Gamer put out a great question. What is retro? And I thought initially, is there a lot to this? And then, of course, there is a real lot to a question like that. And the Retro Import Gamer put some lovely points, as did others. Razza is Retro, Subliminal, VCR. All good channels, by the way. I'll put the links to those below. But my own thoughts on what is retro. It's quite a deep one, really, because I think we all sort of tend to talk about the dates of when consoles came out or what a console can do, etc. And as many people have said, and I think the heart of it is how old you are as a person. Now, I'm getting on a bit. I'm 57 at my next birthday. So I've been around the whole gaming scene for a long time, in and out as into how deep I was into it, because that just happens with life. But I started to think, really, for me anyway, on a personal level, retro it's sort of mixed in with nostalgia. It's very blurred lines, if you like. Sometimes we sort of find certain games synonymous with good times in our life, or sometimes bad times, where sometimes things weren't going great in your younger years, and you used gaming, got you through it, if you like. That happened with me, certainly. So I think sometimes it's the feelings that sort of went with a game, as well as how old the game was, or the console, or if it's music, records or whatever. So the more I thought about it, I thought, God, the lines are really blurred here, and there is no wrong answer, as Retro Import Gamer says. It's sort of like, it's down to the individual, which is all good. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes people can get a little bit irate about these things, but for me, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I had to make some notes about it, I started to think about this. Sorry, I've got my glasses. It'll reflect the light I'm using. But stuff like, even the word retro, without getting into semantics of language, the word retro actually means something that imitates something old, rather than something actually old. I knew this because when I started doing this channel, which is not that long ago, but I got a couple of comments saying, that's not retro, that's vintage. The word retro actually means to imitate something, as I said, that is old. For example, this NES Mini Classic is reasonably new, but it imitates the NES before. So as the word goes in the encyclopedia or the dictionary, that would be classed as retro. Not the original NES itself. But I think that's changed, and I think language changes without going down that road. I think now the language has changed to the point where retro is understood to mean the older devices and stuff, and that goes against the actual meaning of the word, which is, I don't know why I'm going down this road, but just thought it's really interesting the way we look at these things and how the language changes as well. I actually think many words do change over time. I think retro is starting to mean the older consoles are not things that imitate it. Anyway, that's for wordsmiths, but actually it is interesting, really. Well, it's interesting to me. I'm an old fart, and it's quite interesting. But the other thing is, like, my lad, he's 18, and he went through and played Fortnite like a lot of people did. I mean, I played Fortnite, but I was rubbish at it. These youngsters are just too fast. I got no chance. But not so long ago, they put out an old Fortnite map. So it was a map that was out maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But to my son, who was 18, he said, Dad, I sort of get the nostalgia. It was nostalgic to him, so it's amazing. So even my son at that age, I think he was like 17 at the time, it felt nostalgic to him to see that old Fortnite map. So it really is amazing how it all works. And the other thing is, to me, I go back, everyone knows my beloved Spectrum. I love the sort of Spectrum, and those days of the vintage, as I was told to use on a comment years ago instead of retro, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, let's call it vintage for now. They were super retro to me, those really old ones, because teenage years, they really got me. Gaming got me through a lot of difficult times, and just being able to concentrate, going to another world. And I think that's where it blurs with nostalgia. What is nostalgia? That's another one. Someone could start that one, because that's another big world of what is nostalgia. But yeah, so I was thinking about this and I thought, well, I never had a Commodore 64 back in the day. So, when I saw the Commodore 64, I had friends who had Commodore 64. I really, really loved it. It was fantastic, looking at the games and everything. So I obviously bought one recently, as in, maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. So even though I play those games now on Commodore 64, the games are new to me. So they're new games. They're not old to me. But it still feels retro or nostalgic to play those games because they were made when I was a teenager, kid. So that sort of blurs the lines as well. It's like they are new to me, a lot of those games, but it's just the feeling of them being on a console from when I was a kid. So again, the lines are blurred with nostalgia. And the other thing is going on to new games. Now, there's a really big thing where, as a Retro Import Gamer was saying, there's a lot of companies making new games that are retro. They're sort of based on 2D platformers, like Terminator Dark Fate is coming out, I think, in October. I'm going to buy that game. It really looks like it does it for me. It ticks all the boxes for someone my age. There wasn't really a Terminator game that really, really did it back in the day. And this looks like these guys have got it right. But what I'm going to get at here is companies are not stupid. Right? They know that people in their 20s now, let's say under 20s, there's a lot of financial difficulty, if you like, buying a house, all that sort of stuff, really, really, really expensive. They know that people that age don't have £80 to throw around on a game. They've worked out, and you only have to listen to executives at these companies when they talk honestly about business and stuff. They know it's people my generation who got the money. I've got a lot of money. Listen, I'm a Royal Mail driver. But you know what? You've sort of done a lot of things. You've paid for a lot of things in your life. And you'll have a little bit more money to spend on luxuries. And they know this. So this is why they are doing this. It's not just gaming. They're bringing out games, harping back to the old days, because they know people in my age might think, oh, I'll buy that. And there's a lot of people like me. You only have to look at the YouTubers out there. There's many of us, and it's fantastic. But they know. So in terms of other things, if you look at football, there's a trend now, and it's just started this year, where football clubs are bringing out old tops from the 90s, exact replicas. Now, if you're a 20, 25-year-old football fan, it's not really going to tick any nostalgic boxes for you. You're unlikely to buy it. But I know people who are buying those football tops who are my age. So again, in that world of football, Newcastle have done it. Anybody who knows football, Newcastle United, it's not just them. Quite a few clubs now are starting to bring out a retro top, because it's about money as well. So, but bringing that back to gaming, it's because as consumers of games, we have to filter out what is good and what is bad. It's wonderful times in that aspect of gaming, because we've got the choice. You can go back and buy the old games. I've got plenty old games here, old cartridges, Spectrum games. You can look for those, eBay, etc. But you can also look at the new games that are made to be like the older games, or play the older games. So it's up to us to filter out what is good and bad, because there'll be a lot of, bad ones really in the end. Because I think this is going to happen now for a few years anyway. They're going to throw at us a lot of new games with an older feel, if you like. So it's up to us to filter it out. But some of it is in the world of business and computer game sort of making, etc. It's about money and what they can sell. So it's down to us, as I say. I don't know where I've gone with this. I've gone right a different path. But yeah, to me, what is retro is very much blurred in nostalgia. If I go back to my own feelings, it is about when I was a teenager and what I look back on as really, really great memories, great times. It's not like I'm happy now, because some people say, oh, you're nostalgia, you must be unhappy. That's not true. It's not true. You're quite a happy person, but at the same time, it's still nice to get those feelings of those retro games and stuff. But anyway, there's my thoughts on it. And as for a time, what games are what consoles are retro, as many of you said, it's down to age, it's down to preference. So it's unanswerable really. But if I was to be pinned down, it probably would be pre sort of, I don't know, PS3, Xbox 360, I suppose. But yeah, there's my thoughts. I've rambled on here quite a lot because I'll sat here thinking about it. Sorry for being unshaven. This is the morning. I've had to wear a hoodie in here in my garage. It's starting to cool down. Autumn's here. But yeah, that's my thoughts on what is retro. As people have said, you know, other people put your thoughts out there. It's a really interesting question. And yeah, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, take care of yourselves. There'll be other videos coming up soon. In the meantime, like and subscribe as usual. If you like the content, and I'll be back soon. Take care.